So this tutorial is going to look at using variables as in the previous tutorials, but we're going to, instead of passing values or applying values up at the top in the setup, we're actually going to use a function called random, which generates a random number. So the first thing you have to know is that when you generate a random number, it generates a float, not an int. So when you are planning on using random to generate data, you're going to want to make sure that the variables that you use to hold that data are typed as floats, not ints, because it has to support a decimal point. So if we go down through, so we've got two variables that we declare up at the top here, a wide, and you'll also notice I call it wide, not width, because width is part of the language of processing, so we can't use that. So we're using wide instead, because that's just plain language. It's not part of the programming language. So we set wide to 40. We set the num to 5, which is basically a divisor to spread ellipses across the space. Then if we go down through setup, rect, this is unnecessary, we can get rid of that. Background, no stroke, fill of white. Then here we call wide again, and we set a random number, and we have two values here. So you can do one of two things. You can have one value, and it will be 0. It will generate a random number between 0 and whatever value. So if it's 100, it will generate a random number between 0 and 100. So in this case, or you can have a second alternative, which is to say 30, 50, and then it's going to generate a random number between 30 and 50. Okay. Right here I've got a print line just to see what I'm getting, and I've got the string called wide, and then I just add the value that is generated up here into the printout in the console down here. So I draw my first ellipse, and it's width divided by num, which is a fixed number, 5, height divided by 2, so it's in the middle of the screen, and then wide. I reset wide to 40 here, and so the wide that it's using is the value, the random value here. I reset wide in the draw loop to 40. I print wide again, just to make sure that it changed. We'll see it in the console. And then these next 3 ellipses should draw with that value of 40. So if I hit play, we can see what's happening is these are the fixed value of 40, whereas this one is a random number. You can see it's hopping around 34, 45, 43, 46, 32, 39. So, and if we have a bigger gap, like 0 to 100, or let's just put 100 to demonstrate the single value. Right, now it's jumping quite sizably, and these 3 are remaining static. Alternatively, if I got rid of this and just let this value be applied to all of these when it draws, they're all oscillating in the same sequence because they're all using the exact same values to draw. So, and if we used random, basically reset, get rid of the print line just for clarity, and we'll just copy and paste a new value for wide in front of each ellipse. Now each ellipse will have a different random number applied to its diameter. So if we run it, now you can see they're all completely different sizes and sequences, and we can we can reinforce that by, say, having one of these be 40, 50, and another one be 0, 20. So now the oscillations are smaller here because there's only a count of 10 between these two and a count of 20 between the two values in which the random is sort of located inside of. So it's quite powerful. It gives you some automatic data to work with, so you don't have to hard code numbers all the time. And one of the most important things to remember is that it's a float, and so when you type your variable to hold it, make sure you type it as a float. Okay.